There we go. All right, very good. All right, this week from GNC Week in Review, powered by GeekNewsCentral.com. CES 2021 is going to happen in Las Vegas. Google face a lawsuit, and Apple's latest update brings audio to its Apple News Plus. Those are some of the tech news stories from this week, and it's Friday, June 25th, 2020. My name is Kirk Corliss, along with
Scott Ertz.
And this is episode 60 of the GNC Week in Review podcast, part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Thank you so much for tuning in for this week's episode. We are streaming live on Facebook.com/GNC Week in Review. Also on YouTube at GNC Week in Review. So please be sure to say hello in chat or comment. If you miss a live video, you can always catch the replay later. And also can on YouTube channel, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode. If you are a new listener, please be sure to subscribe to the podcast, where you can find in the right-hand side column at gncweekly.com, be it Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, your favorite podcast app for Android, or on TuneIn, Spotify, or Stitcher. You have a comment, be it on social media or email, that all can be found at gncweekly.com/connect. Now, the news is a little bit light this week, understandably so. A lot of sadness in the world, and the pandemic and the protests. And so it's a lot going on. So this is going to be a little bit light news. We're going to try to make this podcast a lot of content, but a little less tech news.
If you don't mind, before we get into the news,
yeah,
I would like to give one quick update on one of our stories from last week, where we talked about the Sony PlayStation event. It has been postponed indefinitely.
Oh, wow.
For the same reason that Google has postponed their Android 11 event, because they both said that this is not a time to celebrate, and we will let you know when we're back.
Right.
And with that, I know we talked last week that I was supposed to have an event tomorrow. We have also postponed that until the end of the month. So a lot of things are being pushed right now for good reason.
For good reason, of course,
because it's not party time right now. There are other more important things. I mean, within 24 hours of our broadcast last week, the mall where we have our Fab Lab was under attack.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, there's weird things going on right now. It's best to just... But not everything's being postponed in the world, right?
Right, absolutely. And that's our top story this week. The Consumer Technology Association, that's the group behind CES, plans to hold CES 2021 in person in Las Vegas next January, despite there's some concerns that the coronavirus may still be a threat. The CTA has announced that it intends to give exhibitors a way to showcase their products, quote, both physically and in Las Vegas and digitally. The LVCC is the primary venue where the event is held. Is scheduled to complete a $980 million expansion just in time for next year's show. The CTA promises new health policies for the show. They intend to regularly clean and sanitize spaces, and offer, quote, sanitation stations. It also plans to widen aisles and seats to increase distancing, limit, quote unquote, touch points. They said they'll look into doing temperature scans, and it plans to issue best practices like wearing a mask, which I checked on the CTA website. Nothing's really set in stone. But I did check online, and a lot of casinos are open. Except people that work there, no one was wearing a mask. No one's doing social distancing. So there was some talk on Twitter that when you attend CES, for those who don't know, myself along with TPN goes to CES to cover it, and there's this quote unquote CES flu, and for the most part, there's some
which for those people who go to any other conventions or conferences, it's generally referred to as con crud. It's the same thing. whether you do comic book or anime conventions or you do business conferences, basically anybody who's ever been to a live in-person event is probably familiar with the term con crud. When it comes to CES, it tends to be called the CES flu.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But it's the same idea.
Right. I just don't think, I mean, honestly, there's like a lot of companies. Well, they said that when I looked on through a lot of the news that a lot of big companies are going to be attending. But here's the thing. Microsoft hasn't been there in many years.
Yes.
Who else? There's a lot of big companies. Apple hasn't been there.
Microsoft hasn't exhibited in many years. They have a huge presence.
Right.
At the Mandalay Bay. They have an entire floor of conference rooms. But they haven't been on the show floor. They gave their space up to Hisense and Dish Network or somebody a number of years ago.
Right.
And Apple hasn't exhibited ever.
Right. They've been there, God knows, in eons, from what I understand.
But they did participate in a roundtable for the first time this year. In 16 years, I think, was their first time having any presence at the show. Okay. One of their executives spoke at a roundtable. I mean, which is, in the grand scheme of things, fairly irrelevant because most people never hear about the roundtables. But
Right. There's not really a lot of discussion, but I remember, like we talked about when we were at last year at CES 2020 with Microsoft, and they don't have press can go in there. You have the Microsoft attendee, but I think that for the most part they're planning the whole things digitally and also in person, and it's gonna be. And if you haven't been to CES, and I hope you catch the replay on Plug It's Live or on that has the coverage on it. But going to CES, it's over 100,000 plus people that attend it.
165,000, I think, was the number this year.
Oh, okay, because they weren't supposed to.
165,000 people attending, which is an important number because that doesn't include security and all that is badged attendees, which is. I mean, 165,000 people is crazy.
It's crazy.
Security and all that stuff on top of it. Nutso.
Right. Yeah, I don't know like they're going to spread people out and social distancing because I know that LBCC there's no like really it's big, it's huge. I mean, I've only been to a quarter of it, but how are they going? I mean, that's going to be really like, because a lot of the booths are like, they have massive booths.
Yeah.
So it'd be kind of interesting to see how they're going to do that. And with the new, now the expansion is right across the street from Mandalay Bay, right?
No, the expansion. Oh, you weren't there back then. So if you've ever been to the convention center, there's the North Hall, there's the Central Hall, and there's the South Hall that's at an angle. At the end of the South Hall, there is an overpass over the Las Vegas Convention Center Boulevard that takes you to what used to be the Gold parking lot, which is where we used to park. That walk over air bridge will now take you to the other convention center. It's where the Mirage Hotel used to be. I think it's the Mirage that they took down to build this. So it's right across the street. If you were in the courtyard of the convention center this year, you could see the new building.
I see. Okay.
Because I was looking at it in all of its partial built glory while we were picking up the armbands for CES this year, and I'm like, that's going to be a crazy building over there. I cannot wait to see it.
Yeah, there's a lot. Todd mentioned to it as well that he can't wait to see it. I'm kind of curious to see it as well, and I hopefully, because we'll be there, and we obviously there's something set in stone as far as how we're going to. I mean, the plans. Usually the plans won't be happening until like late fall. So
they don't get settled until then. I start about now.
Okay. Well. I'm just trying to
it takes us more than 6 months to get CES ready. So
That's true. Yeah, especially with the booking of guests and
sponsorships,
sponsors, and getting, and also, well, as far as like registering for media, because that's a whole different kettle of fish as well.
Yeah. For those who have never attended CES and have only watched coverage, it all looks like this.
It's easy.
This glossy, beautiful, slick event.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're on and for most attendees, that's what it is. For most exhibitors, that's what it is. But for the press,
it's a whole,
especially those of us who broadcast, those who have a physical studio, a physical space, we see the kind of the underbelly of the show. And it's definitely a different experience for a lot of people.
Right, in more ways than one, because I remember I've heard of stories, and it's like I'm thinking, holy crap! But then going there in 2018 and going through all that, literally, you have to jump through hoops.
Yeah,
through hoops just to get in. You can open the door. You have your media badge on, which I have my badge with me. You have your media badge and everything. You walk in the door, but once you get in, it's like you literally have to, like, show them your bag, show them your badge, and everything else. I'm like, what are you, my firstborn too?
But interestingly, it's the first time, because after the first time, if you get them to put the little stickers on, I was trying to see if I had a bag with a sticker on it within reach, and I don't. If you get them to put the sticker on, they never check you again. But from today to tomorrow, who the hell knows what I've put in the bag? It is like this weird mixture of like hyper protective and
yeah. Well, I understand being protective, and I know that it's all being safety. Believe me, I get it.
But consistency. That's the thing. It's so inconsistent. I can go in today with a bag that has a camera in it, get the little sticker, and tomorrow they will not open that bag. It's been 24 hours. I could have put anything in that bag.
Right.
I could have taken that sticker off and put it on another bag. Whatever. It's still better than every door being open and people can just walk in wherever, however.
That's true. That's true. And I know
that was chaos.
I remember when I was there last year, and I went to LBCC, and I was on Facebook Live, and there was a dog that was sniffing. I'm like, oh, okay, cute doggy and everything. So I'm talking about, okay, this is North Hall, Central Hall. I'm in Central Hall now. I can't remember. I think it was Central Hall. So I walked in, and there's this guy that was like adamant about getting in, and the guy he was like, no mas, you can't come in without a badge. So he looked at me probably a split second, saw my badge, was like, okay, you can go in. Okay. So, but I'm just kind of, like I said, I think between now and, we'll have coverage, TPM will have coverage on GNC Weekly, Plug It's Live, Geek News Central, the Tech Ranch, the Gadget Professor, and on and on and on.
Yeah. We'll be everywhere. So I think part of what this is, and part of what we'll see here, is that there's going to be a lower attendance, right? You're going to see some companies decide not to exhibit just for a year, not on a permanent basis like Microsoft or somebody, but or God, Intel. What? Still cannot believe that Intel gave up their space. Anyway, so you'll see some companies not exhibit this year. You'll see attendees not attend this year. So you'll have a lower population. We've also got the new building to be able to spread out across. So I think there are ways to accomplish it. From what I understand, they are currently working with the exhibitors to redraw the booths so that they can expand walkways and stuff. So it seems like they have a plan. We'll see how much of it comes to fruition, because I'll tell you, the security measures, they came in last minute, and they managed to, nail it. I mean, they were happy enough with the procedures that they have stuck as is Sense.
Right.
So, and that was, I don't remember what the trigger was a couple of years ago, but it was like 3 weeks before CES. They sent out a whole new security thing. They're like, hey, so these are going to be the rules this year. Sorry about that.
Did it have something to do with the shooting, or was it a whole separate thing? Because the shooting was in
17,
December, right? December. Yeah, you're right. So I think maybe that probably had something to do with it. Maybe
it was absolutely that.
Okay, because
December of 17, that would have made CES 2018 the first, and 18, 19, and 20 we were in the sands. It would have had to have been 16. Would have had to have been January 16 because we were still broadcasting from the South Hall.
Okay. Because they may have something to do with it, because I mean the security there, literally between not just at the convention center and the sands, but like the hotels, and it was like, I'd never seen that. There was Las Vegas Marshals, there was Las Vegas Metro PD. It was like wall to wall cops. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. The overall security of the city went up after the concert, but but the CES procedures went into place. It would have had to have been January of 16, so it was even before Pulse. So it was before any of that stuff.
Okay. I'm just curious. I understand that people have concerns because with the pandemic, and I don't want to saturate people because it's but, and I understand the concerns, but because they want to wait for a vaccine, what have you, because you're going to get sick, and a lot of people say you're going to get sick eventually. So I'm just kind of curious again how they're going to, with the overflow with the new building.
Yeah.
That's going to be,
as we get closer, we'll get more information. The idea that CES has said we are holding an in-person event this year, I think that was an important move, because now, you and I and Michelle and Todd, we have enough information to start making decisions.
Okay, right.
Which is important. Right. That's
absolutely.
Now, will we be in the same space we've been for the last couple of years?
Probably not. No, that's a whole.
Are they going to shift that whole room around? We might be the only ones that are safe because we are kind of up against the wall. We're literally kind of in a weird place. Everybody else might be up for a shift. We might be the only ones who are protected from a move. But I think the show's going to look a lot different in 2021, but we don't know what it'll look like yet.
Yeah,
we just know that they're bucking the trend. That's the takeaway here, right? The CTA is bucking the trend. They are saying we are confident enough right now to say that by January 2021, we think holding an in-person event will be fine.
Right.
Which is a big statement.
Oh, absolutely. And I noticed, and again, I don't know if you saw, again, I was looking online on YouTube, a lot of Las Vegas vloggers there, and people were coming out like, there is that concern about it, but there's money being spent. There's money being spent, and it's changing hands. Be it the
hotels opened yesterday at 10 a.m. I think
it was, from what I saw. I could be wrong, but I think it was
4.
That was, yeah, you're right. Yes, you're right.
The casinos.
Right. The casinos, right.
The hotels have been open for a week. The casinos, the floors were not. So I think 10 a.m. yesterday is when the casinos opened.
Okay.
Which was a big step.
It is. And that's why I think, and like you said, the CTA made a big, step in saying, okay, and there's other conferences like F8 canceled, FIFA canceled. There's a lot of conferences that, like Comic-Con canceled, saying a lot of all these big conferences. So for CTA to put this out there and say, we're holding this conference, and we're going to we're going to see, and I think it's going to, you're right, it's going to be a little different. There's not going to be there is going to be a lot of people,
of course,
regardless of the 100K or less or more. It's still going to be a huge.
I bet this will be the first year that attendance doesn't grow. In the in the decade or more that I've been going, attendance has grown every year. I bet this will be the first year that isn't the case. But that won't be the CTA's fault.
Right. No, it's not going to be their fault.
That's important. That's important to note that, yes, the stats are probably all going to tank this year. Either that or they're going to go up because people are so itching to go to a conference. There's that possibility.
I was supposed to go to their theater conference. The podcast movement conference was supposed to be in August, but they moved it to October, and I was going to go, but I'm going to wait until next year. I'm like itching to go. I mean, again, I tell Scott and I told a lot of people when I get the registration for CES for press and what have you, that's like my Christmas. Mm-hmm. I was excited, and when I saw this on the news, and and I'm like, with all the things that are going on in the world, at least it's kind of made my day a little bit.
Yeah, there's a little light of normalcy in the distance.
Right. Exactly.
And when you say it's like your Christmas, let's just clarify for people who haven't done this before. And in the lead up to CES, we all get so excited. We're like he said, little kids just waiting for Christmas.
Right.
And then basically once it starts, we're all like, oh, is it over yet? It is the weirdest thing because I think it is. God, I think on Sunday we were thinking, right, and it hadn't even started. It was 2 days from starting, and we were already. It is an exhausting week.
It is
of basically no sleep for our team. Now our experience is different from others. Having a studio and having to be there before open and not leave until after close because our space is open to the world. Right. Makes our days longer. And then we have events after hours and, you get back to the hotel at midnight and you're like, well, I've got first shift tomorrow. I have to be at the convention center at 8. So somebody else is in charge of cleaning up. Good night.
No, it's like it is a long week, and I remember I was there 2018, and I was there this past year, and the team that I'm on with Scott, with TPN, I was technical director, so I was TDing a couple of the mornings, and by the time I was done. And then going to the press day at Showstoppers, and I was, by the time I got to my hotel, the Plaza, I'm like, OMG, was that like, did that day just like went like within a split second, like what the?
And you're exhausted when you get back.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
But it's the most fun week of the year for me. I absolutely love it, and by week we really mean it's kind of like 10 days.
Right. Likewise,
because we start setting up on Saturday and we get out on Friday, so it's kind of like a week and a half. But it's it's a lot of fun, but it is an exhausting week.
It is an exhausting week.
So Michelle, who's the executive producer of the event this year, just said in the chat, it's the most fun ever, 3 exclamation points.
It is the most fun, Michelle. You're absolutely right. And it's a lot of fun. And, and I met Scott in 2018 and I met Michelle and Danielle and it was the best, because I love tech, but to cover it, working with Todd as executive producer and, to go down there. And I was like amazed of everything that's been going on. And we're also independent media as well. So a lot of times with a lot of major networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, what have you, they only do a snippet. Whereas with the coverage, we do like expanded, like we try to get as many interviews as we can.
And we can do whatever we want.
Exactly.
I mean, within the rules of CES, but we don't have network rules. We don't have, there's all this stuff over top that we have, that other networks have to deal with. Like when CNET gave Dish Network the Best of CES award, and their parent company CBS almost fired the team because CBS was suing Dish Network at the time.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any of that. Whoever
Right.
we want to give an award to, we do, because we don't got no rules. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. And there's mistakes being made, and there's bloopers. And I just, hopefully, what I'm going to do, I'd like to do, Scott, between now and like, I would say the fall, I want to play some of the coverage, just a couple of snippets of it.
Yeah.
Because I tell Scott this, I've been giggling. There's some moments where Marlo, I don't want to like go into like all of it, but but it was like there's the best highlights were Marlo's interviews. I like Don's interviews as well.
I would say that the best 20 seconds of the entire 4 days of live can be summed up with this motion for those of you who are watching. I have never seen a human being the shade of red that Marlo turned when that thing made that motion.
Yep. That's the one I'm talking about. That's the one I'm talking about. That's what I want to play. That's the one I want to play because, I'm just like, and we had also Scott interviewed Robbie Cabrera from Benji Lock. And I must say, I was so like this is that some of the interviews, that one was very touching as well because it was genuine, nicest guy on the planet. And the best part where Kim Kelly from Hampton mentioned about Locke stealing, where he said that the mothers cannot steal their daughter's genes. Scott just like cracked up.
I was so unprepared. So if the woman from Laura DiCarlo had said that, I wouldn't have been shocked at all.
Right.
But something about Kim Kelly saying it, I was just like, wow, that was unexpected.
That's what you said. You said that I didn't expect that coming, that line from you.
Yeah. Oh, it was so funny. But that's a cool product, by the way. The drawer lock with the biometric on it. That's a cool product. Anyway, that's probably enough of our rambling about CES.
We'll talk about it. And things coming on the next few months, and we'll keep everyone posted and tuned in and like what have you. But like again, I'm going to definitely between now and the fall, at least leading up to it, I'm definitely going to play those clips because that was they were the funniest. I must have cracked up more often that one morning than not. And that little move that you just made, and for those who are listening, don't know, just watch the video. It's on Plug It's Live. If you go down a couple of months, few months, you'll see it.
Not the Laura DiCarlo one. I can't publish it.
Oh, you can't?
Nope. Because I've got children's content on my site. I can't mix and match.
Okay. Well, I'll put
it's on the live stream though.
It's on live stream. I meant to say it's on live stream. But what I'll do is, like I said, we'll the next few months remind me because I'm definitely gonna put that in.
Okay.
All right. Cool.
It'll be the videos are all making their way to TPN right now. You can find it on techpodcast.com under our stuff, but then under the actual TPN brand coverage, you'll see our stuff coming soon. So
okay, cool. Awesome.
I wanted to give a bit of a gap during, especially now with like we said at the beginning of the show, there's so little going on right now. We want to try and like resurface that stuff during the downtime. So you'll start seeing that stuff again through Tech Podcasts on our feed, which is a special feed. And the Laura DiCarlo interview will be the first one published there since those poor people didn't get published anywhere else.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. So I have a copy of it. So I'm looking forward to it regardless. All right, cool. All right. Next in the news, Google faces a proposed class action lawsuit that accuses Google of invading people's privacy. And a little bit later, we'll talk about how you can how you can control your privacy and tracking internet use even when browsers are set to, quote, private mode. The suit filed Tuesday in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California alleges that Google violates wiretapping and privacy laws by continuing to, quote, intercept, track, and collect communications even when people use Chrome's incognito mode and other private web browser modes. There's a quote from the complaint. Google tracks and collects consumer browsing history and other web activity data, no matter what safeguards consumers undertake their data privacy. This has been talked about, God knows, with Google and location data for like how long now?
Okay. This topic has been driving me crazy all week, and it's likely to be my internet topic on Sunday.
Yep. That's why I put it in.
Okay, so here's the thing about incognito mode and whatever the other browsers call it. It's not storing cache on your computer. Period. That's what incognito or private mode or whatever Firefox calls it. That's what it does. It does not say that Google and Facebook aren't going to be able to track you, because the pixels are still out there. Now, if you just open incognito mode and browse the internet, are you likely to be the same user as you are when you're signed in? No. And I read a security researcher who did some tests on this. He built a domain. He put the Facebook and the Google tracking pixels on there. He browsed the website from his computer, signed into his Facebook account, signed into his Gmail account, whatever, blah, blah. He browsed the site, and then he closed his browser, opened an incognito, and followed the exact same path through the website and closed it, and then went and looked at the stats, and he was recognized as two different people, even though his IP address was the same. Which is a good thing. It means that it is not pairing you to yourself just because it's IP, because you could be on a public computer, you could be in a hotel, you could, whatever. But it, of course, it's still tracking you.
Right.
Facebook and Google don't have the ability necessarily to find out whether a browser is in incognito mode. So their code just runs. It is what it is.
Okay.
It's just that the stuff isn't stored so that when you go to a website and then your kid opens the browser, the history's gone. Honest to God, that's all it's for, guys. Okay. That is all it does. And if you're expecting it to do any more than that, you have not read the privacy policies of the browser or anything like that, because Google says that's all it does.
Well, that's the thing that's been talked about, and for a while now, that a lot of people don't read the terms of service, where especially Google is concerned, but Facebook as well. Yeah, for sure, or anything. How the idea of just clicking accept and moving on a end user agreement is such a trope that it shows up in TV shows and movies. Like right.
Family Guy had a thing where part of the agreement was that they could come punch you in the stomach. And so they did. They just walked into Quagmire's house and punched him in the stomach. It's the idea of not reading the terms of service are so common that it shows up in TV shows. But that doesn't excuse you from them. It's ignorant of the law does not make you immune to the law.
Right.
So, I mean, it is what it is. And just because somebody doesn't understand how incognito mode works doesn't mean that this lawsuit's going to go anywhere but in the trash.
Well, that's why, I'm my follow the news, and that's why, you have a good mind. That's why I wanted to kind of like educate, not necessarily myself a little more, but also educate our listeners and viewers as well about the importance of keeping your data private and knowing the I wouldn't say the perils, but at least being aware of what you're using with your phone.
Or you're anything.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Right.
I mean, nothing is safe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, you're right.
Browsing the web is an inherently unprivate event. It always has been. Right. Even if you pretend that Google and Facebook don't exist, your ISP still gets to see everything you do.
Right.
And it's just the nature of the technology. Is it a great technology? Not necessarily, but it is what it is.
Right.
And there's services out there. We've got a article, guest post coming this weekend about this topic specifically. It should probably be up tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
About kind of protecting yourself, and for F5 Live, our topic for 2019 was security and privacy,
right?
And because of that, we ended up Avram's sponsor for the Pilch Point is a company called PureVPN. And I've been using PureVPN. I can't use it on everything because sometimes I need the full bandwidth. Doing the show and things like that don't run through the VPN because I need I need nothing in my way when pushing video to 6 different targets. But
I'm gonna what I'm gonna do is I'm going to show off the site right now. Just give me a couple seconds.
But yeah, I mean, it obfuscates your browsing, and the name is slightly inappropriate because it's not really a VPN. It's a proxy service, but it installs on your devices as a VPN. So because iPhone doesn't have a true proxy capability. So, you do what you do. You get around things the way you get around things. It is what it is. But yeah, services like this, and I mean, there's lots of them out there. The fact that you can get I think if you sign up, I don't know if it's a public price or just our price, but I know if you sign up for 2 years, you can get it for like $3 a month or something like that, which is the average price on something like it's $10. And for $10 a month, if you're worried about your privacy, $10 a month to improve your privacy is not bad.
Right.
But yeah, services like that are the thing that people seem to think incognito mode is, which it is not. It is very defined in the browser what it does and does not do. And this lawsuit is going to get laughed out of court.
Yep, like a lot of lawsuits that were that. So this is nothing new. So I'm just kind of curious what's going to happen. All right, very good. All right, now next on episode 58, it was reported we talked about that Home Chef had a data breach. And speaking of data breaches, there was a recent study that found that most people, don't change their passwords too seriously following a data breach. Just about a third of users typically change their passwords after an announcement about a breach. And this is from Carnegie Mellon University Security and Privacy Institute that presented this early this month. Of all the users, there was data on 249 participants where that was collected between January 2017 and December 2018. Of all the users, just 63 had accounts on breach domains that publicly shared a breach during the collection period. Of those 63 users, only 21 went to the breach site to change their passwords. Further, just 15 of those users did so within 3 months of the announcement. Now, for me personally, years ago, I did that. I went to the breach site to change the password. Now, I'm trying to there's different password managers. LastPass is what I use. So it's good to do that. So God forbid something happens, I'm okay. But don't use the same password. I saw. This is a funny story. There was I mentioned one of the funny stories was like I think a year ago. I can't remember what episode it was. The top most used passwords. Don't use passwords. And one of them was, you ever see Spaceballs?
Of course.
Many times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep. Yeah, that one's either is number 1 or number 2 every year on the end of year lists.
Mm-hmm.
It tends to trade places with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as the right. Passwords, another common one.
Mm-hmm.
Here, if you are not sure, if you're the kind of person who uses a password a lot, mm-hmm. And you want to see if that information is out in the wild, there is a wonderful website, haveibeenpwned.com.
Yep.
Where you can put in your email address, mm-hmm. separate from your password, mm-hmm. 2 different lookups, and it will tell you if your email address has been taken in a hijack, and if your password is found anywhere, mm-hmm. Whether attached to you or not. So, if you use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's gonna show up.
Right.
Guaranteed. But it's definitely worth investigating. They're approaching 10 billion records.
Wow.
Which is a lot.
It is a lot. You're right, it is a lot.
Because that's more than there are people. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of records that they're maintaining, and he's constantly getting breaches sent to him. Anytime that data shows up on the dark web, somebody will get a hold of it and send it to him, and it gets imported into the system. They've got 450 plus websites hacks that are included in that 10 billion records. So it's definitely worth looking at if you reuse passwords. Mm-hmm. That site will become your best friend to find out how much trouble you're in.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I used to, I went to the breach site and, and I changed the password there, but also Gateway, is used again, use a password manager, LastPass. There's others out there. But always we try to make sure that you're, again, being safe. There's always, like you said, there's some flaws happen, but at least maybe to protect yourself in some way, at least it'll help you a little bit in the long run. All right. Now, next in the news, the latest iOS 13.5.5 beta has revealed a new audio feature for the company's Apple News Plus service that adds podcast-style recordings of long-form articles to the app. This was discovered by 9to5Mac. Apparently, they were working on a feature early this year, but the newly revealed section of the news app marks its first real look at the audio endeavor. The beta adds a new audio tab to the Apple News app, where the audio versions of the story to be collected. Now, the audio stories are only available for the subscribers to the $9.99 a month Apple News Plus subscriptions. Okay, now here's my take on this. Okay, there's podcasts. There's podcasts you can get on Apple Podcasts and all other podcatchers. There's F5 Live. There's news. There's tons of news podcasts. So why would you want to spend $10 for a feature where you can get news stories through many different avenues for free?
Okay. The Apple News Plus is more than this, which is an important an important thing to note. My guess is very few people are going to spend the $10 just for this feature. There will be some, but not everybody. The reason you're going to spend the $10 is to get access to the content behind paywalls from services like Wall Street Journal and stuff like that. That's going to be your probably your main reason for signing up for the Plus service. But I will tell you that the concept of not digital read, but human read articles has been, well, Audible articles has been around for a while. The company that I founded, we built an automated, like a digital read app. Well, we haven't been in that office for 5 years. I wonder if Michelle remembers when we did that, because I think Danielle might have been involved in it. And so it would take the text, you'd give it an RSS feed, it would take the text, it would be able to read the text from the article. It was a pretty cool idea, but digital read stuff is not fun. Today, if we were to use the company that was on the show at CES, that had that human processed voice synth. You might be able to make that work.
Orcam. That's the.
Was that who it was?
Yeah, it was Orcam. Yep.
That we might be able to make that work. But the idea of actual, honest to God, human read articles has been popular. I'm seeing it on websites now, where they're doing their own recorded read throughs. It's something that we've been toying around with ourselves. Some people just like to listen to content, versus read it. So it's just another plus accessibility, right? Some people can't see. It gives them access to the text as it was written by the author, with no podcast commentary or anything around it, just the text as it was written by the author. So
it's funny that you say that. It's funny that you say that, because I know that I guess it is podcast. The New York Times does a podcast, The Daily, and they had the reporters talk about their stories that were published. And they publish it and the first thing in the morning. I think it's like 6 a.m. Eastern, I think it is, or what have you. But I'm just like, I know there's Apple fanboys, and believe me, call me out if I'm wrong. But I just think that I know that there's the paywall as far as the content's concerned, but that's why I'm curious on this beta that they're going to add this in, where again, we have the content you can listen to, the news and again, every subject, known to man. So that's why it was just like, it was really, I don't know, to see why would they do that.
Yeah, it's all about partially making the articles, the content more accessible, but also partially about I'm not an audiobook person.
I'm not,
but I know people who much prefer an audiobook over a physical book.
True.
My I guess now former business partner, Mark, he much prefers an audiobook over a regular book. He likes to listen to content, and so that's the reason why we built that tool, was specifically for him. He wanted to be able to listen to my articles,
right?
And so we built a thing, and he liked it, and we had it out in the Windows Phone store, and we had a couple hundred downloads on it. So there were other people who wanted it, which means there are people who want it. Apple's just leaning into something people want, which I'm fine with. CNET has, I think it's CNET, like 15% of their articles or something like that end up getting a listen to button added to them,
Right.
and they're read by humans.
Right.
So I mean, it's the same idea.
Yeah.
It's just being done on a grander scale. And there's an app. I can't remember the name of it. It might be called Listle, Listle, but that might be something else. That does this. Like, that's what they do, is they take content and have humans record it. I've got a friend who's a voice actor who applied to work for him. So
yeah, I guess, yeah, that's why I'm like, that's to have a little bit of point counterpoint. One point, again, I think it's it's a benefit. One benefit, it's a benefit to, I guess, had the extra content, versus the other side. Again, call me out if I'm wrong. I'd love to hear feedback. If I'm wrong or not. That I can listen to pretty much the spoken word through different, not necessarily at the news per se, but as far as spoken word, I can get it pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
So.
But in this case, why, if you go back, let's go back 10 years, you could get movie listings in the newspaper by calling movie phone, or by going online. It's the exact same information, but movie phone on their website or on the phone literally gave you the same information.
That's true.
But right. One was in print and one was audible. It's the same thing. It's just making print audible, which is appealing for some people and not for others. It's not for me, but for those who it is, this could be a huge benefit and help them stay on top of what's going on. Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, next up, AT&T wireless customers without unlimited data plans won't have to worry about going over their data usage when streaming HBO Max. The company isn't counting usage from its own streaming service. AT&T confirmed in an email to CNET on Wednesday that wireless subscribers streaming HBO Max video won't incur data charges, which the company said will help its customers save money. A spokesperson told CNET, quote, "This is based on a sponsored data arrangement. This program we offer on the same terms to any entities who wish to sponsor data for the customers. This is similar to arrangements some of our competitors have." Okay.
And that competitor is T-Mobile. If anybody is wondering what some of our competitors have means, AT&T is specifically referring to T-Mobile and the fact that basically all of the major media streaming services don't count against your data caps on a T-Mobile plan.
But also, you got to keep in mind that when you're on AT&T and if you don't want to watch Netflix or Hulu, it's going to go in. It's going to get your data.
Right. Whereas, I mean, not to prop up T-Mobile or anything. I'm not a T-Mobile subscriber or a T-Mobile sponsor or anything. But T-Mobile, when they started this program a couple of years ago, they got everybody from Netflix and Hulu to Spotify and Apple Music all to jump on board with this program to help sponsor the data so that it didn't count. So it doesn't matter what service you're using. There's a couple like Tidal. Well, after the buyout, Tidal might change, but Tidal wasn't in the mix. Sprint owns 50% of Tidal, so now T-Mobile owns 50% of Tidal. So the rules might change there.
Right. Well, again, I don't know. But well, again, I don't know. I guess, again, like I said with last episode, I think it was that I don't know if they're gonna HBO Max is going to be. I don't know. It's going to be viable.
Yeah, but if one of the things that's always worked is service bundling, especially when it comes to the streaming services. Comcast is making sure that Peacock will have good numbers by giving the middle tier to their cable subscribers for free. In fact, they have it now. We don't get it till July, but Comcast subscribers already have access to Peacock. AT&T was giving access to AT&T TV. Well, it was DirecTV.
DirecTV now.
At the time, they were given that for free unless you were on a business account. So I didn't get it. But these bundle ideas have been. Verizon had the NFL and Sprint had the NFL before Verizon. These kind of bundle plans. Hulu with Sprint, Spotify with Xbox Live. These things are pretty common success points. So it only makes sense for them to pair these things together and say, here, this is the streaming service you want to use on our network because it doesn't count against your data. So it's a little heavy-handed, but it's a successful concept.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right, speaking of the HBO Max, over on AndroidCentral.com, what's new on Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, Hulu, Disney Plus, and HBO this month? There's Netflix. There's the final season of Fuller House, Patriot. Which I recommend that show. It's a really good show.
Queer Eye season 5 premiered this morning.
I saw that. I got the notification.
3 a.m. this morning.
3.
That if you're on the East Coast, it was 3 a.m. If you're on the West Coast, it was at midnight, which makes way more sense.
Right, exactly. I got the notification, so I'm behind on my Netflix viewing, so I have to get myself caught up. So did you watch it? What did you?
No, not yet. That's not one of the shows that I'm up at 3 a.m. ready to watch. Stranger Things, yes.
Good point.
If it was the original cast, if it was the OG, I'd have been there. But I don't know. I'm not totally in love with the new group.
There's a lot of talk of there are some people that don't really versus the old. I loved it when the old group when that was on Bravo. I thought that was the best. It was like. It was warm, touching. It had a lot of emotions wrapped around. This one, I'm kind of divided.
Yeah, I like a couple of the guys. I liked all the original guys, and the fact that I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I'm a little biased. I'm friends with one of the original cast members, so I'm a little biased there. But I always preferred the original. What is this?
I'm not going to play the audio, but this is if you're watching the video, I'm not going to play the audio because I don't get takedown or anything. I have no idea what this is. This is a trailer from Netflix. I have no idea what this
is. Is that Will Ferrell in Viking outfit?
It looks like it.
Oh, okay. I got to find out what that is.
Eurovision. Wait, Eurovision.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I have no idea who that is. Okay,
that's Gabriel Iglesias.
Okay. If you're watching the video, if you're listening on,
looks like so that. Oh. Okay, F is for family.
Did you watch this show?
I have not, but I am aware of it.
It's the best. It is the most. I'm not going to play the audio there's a lot of F-bombs on it, but. I'm telling you, you have to watch. I highly recommend it. It was a really good show. All right, so that's. Let me see.
Okay. So looks like some interesting stuff going on this month at Netflix.
Yeah,
I knew the Politician season 2 was coming. Hopefully, they'll have some good comedy specials this month. That's not going to be one of them.
Right. Yeah. All right. Also, what's new on Amazon Prime Video in June? There's Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a co-pilot with a hijacking problem. Okay.
Interesting. Joseph Gordon-Levitt tends to only get involved in things that are going to be a success, so that's a good sign.
Right. With a hijacking problem in 7500. I'm
all right. June 19th, 7500 on Amazon Prime.
Right, there you go.
Can't wait.
I
I
can't
have
wait.
no idea what in the world it is, and I cannot wait.
I don't know what it is either.
Disney's got Marvel stuff coming. Frozen.
Yeah, I'm not going to play the audio. If you're listening, I'm playing the video from the trailer from Disney Plus.
Looks like a lot of Disney Channel type stuff coming too.
Yeah. There's nothing really. Marvel City, Marvels.
I was going to say, I think this is the month that the last of the external contracts expired for the Marvel stuff. So that means that everything should be available this month, I think. I might be wrong, but I think so.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, Tarzan.
Oh, the old Tarzan cartoons. Oof. All right.
Moving along.
Some interesting stuff coming there.
HBO. What's new on HBO and HBO Max? Speaking of HBO Max,
everything.
Everything.
I think that's the point.
Right.
It's a brand new service, so everything's new.
Right. Exactly. What's new on Hulu in June?
That series Love Victor, which was supposed to be on Fox, I think, which is I think is a serial version of the Love Simon story, something similar to Love Simon, or a sequel or something like that. But Fox decided they didn't want to air it, and so they gave it to Hulu since they own it.
Okay. Well, if you're listening, I'm not playing the audio because I don't get a takedown, but they're showing a trailer of the from Hulu of Love Victor.
That was one of those things that I bet if they could go back in time, they'd have changed their mind on changing the contract, only because they weren't prepared for this big block of no content over the summer for broadcast television, where they'd have to. Oh, see, it is Love Simon. Haha, I thought so. I've been following this story because the contracting on it has been fascinating.
Okay.
I bet if they could go back 6 months, they would change it and air it on TV, because not because it's a particularly good story or they necessarily care, but because this summer is going to be a drought of content on television. Because, I mean, even Survivor is stuck right now because even they can't film, despite the fact that they're in the middle of nowhere in Fiji. Even Survivor is shut down.
And the Amazing Race also. They only stopped production like 3/4 of the way in. So,
but they interact with the outside world in a way that Survivor doesn't.
That's true too. You're right.
It's possible that the contestants on Survivor would be in the safest possible condition, being secluded out in Fiji,
right?
With just them and the production team,
right?
But yeah, that's a difficult space right now, is broadcast television, to the point. I mean, we're watching Fox run reruns of stuff while celebrities talk over top of it, like Mystery Science Theater 3000 for just regular TV. Fascinating.
Well, they're rerunning Hell's Kitchen and rerunning Hell's Kitchen for from 2 years ago, mind you.
Yeah, it's season 18. It's the most recent season, in fairness.
Well, I'm sorry, last year. Sorry. Okay,
it is the most recent season, but season 19 premieres in a couple of weeks.
I can't wait.
From what I'm told.
Oh, so. I can't wait. Oh, I can't wait. I have to I'm just because I usually. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so happy.
Me too.
I'll be a happy camper when it comes on. Oh, you have no idea. All right, moving right along. In what's in the do you need help with your tech? Over on, make sure I get my screen. Yep. Okay. Whoops, wrong one. There we go. Okay. From AndroidEssential.com, the best Android phones. They have these are their picks from best overall OnePlus 8 Pro to the best foldable, which boggles my mind, the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip.
Well, when you've got 4 phones to choose from,
there you go.
it's a 25% chance that it's going to be the winner.
Right? Yeah, that's true. I just didn't understand why they put this in the best phones. Like, couldn't they just like? I mean, they're foldable phones. Like,
They're
been
just
talked about.
They're just getting ready for the Surface Duo to come in and own the category.
And all hell's going to break loose.
Yeah, when Microsoft owns a category of Android phone, yeah, it's going to be a mess. I can't wait.
I'm definitely going to keep an eye on that puppy. Definitely keep an eye. I agree with about the best value with Google Pixel 3a. The camera is great, but the 3A XL I have. The best camera on the 4, a lot of people didn't really, I know this is Android Central's picks, but the best, from what I've been seeing, the camera on the Pixel 4L hasn't been that great. It hasn't lived up to the standards of the Pixel 3.
Yeah, or only that was the only problem there.
Right. Amongst other things. All right. Next up, this we're talking about earlier about privacy. Over also on AndroidCentral.com, how to make your Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and other social media accounts private. And I'll link up in the show notes on how you can do the step-by-step on how to do that. Over on, again, we talked about location data. Also on AndroidCentral.com, how to find and disable apps showing your location on Android. So to walk you through on how to do that.
That's that on a very focused level. That's important. One of the things that we should also note is that you should regularly pay attention to all of the permissions that apps that you have downloaded are accessing. Location is obviously a big one,
right?
But contacts is another one. You know, if you've got a solitaire game that has asked for your contacts, guess what? You're not playing a solitaire game,
right?
Yeah,
right.
There's other things going on there. So, you know, maintaining your permissions is an important thing in general.
Absolutely. All right. Next up in the also from ubergizmo.com, and I do this often, how to check your laptop's battery health. It'll walk you through on how to, battery cycle, how to check your MacBook's battery cycle, how to check your Windows laptop battery health. And I know we're going back to, I'm going to go reference CES for 1 second because it's important, because when I was using my laptop to do a couple things and I unplugged it, I had it downstairs in the control room, and I'm hitting the panic button. I'm like, did I plug it in? Did I not plug it in? So I had to run every couple of few hours, make sure A, it's plugged in, and B, how good is the battery? Because I mean, when you need to know that, that way, God forbid something happens and you want to use it for some reason, you're at your battery levels at E, and then you have to wait another good 4, 5, 6, 7 hours to charge it. You don't want to be screwed. All right. Lastly, over on AndroidCentral.com, how to use your Android phone's Pro or manual camera mode. And I had, like I said, I have the Pixel 3a XL. I love the camera on it. And I took a photography class. There's a lot of different settings you can use on how to, with on ISO and the shutter speed, and there's a lot of different apps you can use. But this is a great the great guide to have, and this all links up. It will be in the show notes on this episode for GNCweekly.com. And that is the tech news for this week, for Friday, June 5th, 2020. Thank you so much for tuning in for this week's episode. Show notes from this episode can be found at GNCweekly.com. Also, be sure to check out the latest tech news and commentary for GeekNewsCentral.com. Be sure to tune in Mondays and Thursday evenings at GeekNewsCentral.com/live for the Geek News Central podcast. And then be sure to watch and tune in the live stream on GNCWIR's Facebook Live page or on YouTube's page Friday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure to please subscribe, like, and subscribe to the channel, because I would love to get some more subscribers to the channel. We would love to get more subscribers to the channel.
For sure.
If you have comments on this week's episode, love to hear from them. Head on over to gncweekly.com/connect via email, Twitter, or Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm at Kirk Corliss. Scott is on Twitter at TTMABO. Till next time on the next episode of GNC Week in Review. So long.
Ciao.